But this very much ties into your research at the moment.
Mhm.
For the listeners out there who are not aware of ethical business, what is it about?
Right. So, Daniel, if it's okay with you, I would like to give a bit of an overview of my educational life,
For sure.
the part that I love to study.
For sure.
um, so I mentioned ITS.
Yes.
After ITS, I went into the industry and I started that 18-year career that I had. And I started off from being, at that point in time, it was called a junior administrative officer. A year later, I was promoted to a senior administrative officer, and that meant that for the very first time, even though I had learned a bit about management through ITS, I was now responsible for other people.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I realized that I want to know more. Because the first step into management, particularly the supervisory step, I would say is even more difficult than the other steps. Because it now becomes not just about how you behave and what you do, it becomes on more important that you get results through the work of other people.
Mm.
And so some people may become complacent and let everything be. Other people may turn into what we usually term as micromanagers. So they want to make sure that everything's perfect. If I don't do that, then it's not going to be good. And it's a very particular phase. So at that point, I went to the University of Malta and I started a diploma in management. Just following that, I continued with an MBA. And then in 2008, I took a break. And my husband says that those were the worst years of his life.
Okay. For him.
Because he says, and I look at it and I think he is right, you know. I like learning so much that when I was not learning something new, I was not feeling motivated.
Mhm. Okay.
And as I tried to be now saying that an MBA is enough and that's it, it didn't work for me. So years later, I did a master's in business ethics in Malta as well. And just after that, I started a PhD with the University of Glasgow, which started in 2019, just before COVID hit.
Okay.
So,
Right on time.
well, everyone I speak to would say just before COVID, and it feels like a different life.
Yes. We do have 2 years of void in reality, but
Oh my. Oh man, I look back, I would say, ooh, that was strange.
it was strange. It was strange. So we got back to normality, I would say, but not entirely.
It's 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 yes, it's strange.
It
Strange in a
is.
way that when I look back, I say, how was it possible that we were inside our home and I hate being at home somehow.
But we had
I
to.
like. Yes, I love the outdoors, so it was very difficult, and
Yeah.
I know it was difficult for many other people in many different ways. So for me, the biggest challenge was being at home. For others, the biggest challenge was not being at home. So if I uh, I didn't mind getting sick, but that for
Mm.
other people that was a big thing, and
For
that
sure.
was for some people that was afraid for their life, and that's no joke. While for me, I'm afraid that that I cannot survive if I'm inside, but that's something else. So
You didn't
um
have enough painting to do at home or home
ah,
renovations.
no. No, I had. Remember, I was telling you about the imposter syndrome and moving to
Yes, yes, yes,
entrepreneurship. So I
yes.
moved into entrepreneurship in July 2019.
Exactly.
The moment I had bookings for January to March, then everything collapsed. And
Mm.
yeah, yes, Yes, but
Well,
I wouldn't say that my experience was more challenging than others, although, and I know that I'm deviating a lot, although I would like to say that there were times where I needed mental help,
hmm,
and it was tough. And if I did not reach out for help, it wouldn't have been, I wouldn't be here like this today. So if any one of your listeners is going through a rough patch, I honestly urge them to reach out. There are people who can help, and it's okay not to be okay. I know that it's now become a thing
yeah,
to say,
yeah,
but it's honestly not an easy part of life.
hmm,
Because if you're feeling helpless and hopeless, it's a real feeling, and it's not something to be underestimated. So for those who feel like that, speak out. And that's what I did, and I found help, and I was lucky. So going back to my research.
I thank you for saying that, Corinne. I mean,
No,
um,
I think that we need to speak about these things
yeah, and everyone
because
does. Something that is you from what you said and stuck with me. Starting your own venture, I think, at least from my experience so far in life, I think it's the most difficult thing that you can do
yes,
because at least it's up there. It's one of the most difficult things that you can do because there are so many moving parts, and so many things that you have to learn about yourself and challenge about yourself.
yes,
That
yes.
I think it's the most difficult thing that you can do. And I started it
Um,
on 2020 as well, so it's in the midst of COVID.
of
So
COVID,
I can relate to what
yes,
you're saying as well.
yes. About that, I think that there are people who can do it much more easily than I did.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Um, I personally am an introvert, even though it does not show. I'm a person who thinks a lot. I'm a person who needs my alone time. I'm a person who finds networking extremely tiring, and I'm afraid of it. And when I said I'm going into entrepreneurship, I had this impression of who an entrepreneur should be, and
Mhm.
that impression was not me.
Okay.
So when I see people who find it easy to make to network, I respect that and I admire that. But when I am in networking events, I usually look around the room and look for people who, just like I do, would go into the corner. Sometimes I find it so difficult that I tell myself, go. If you don't like it, just leave. Because not everyone is easy to make connections, and in entrepreneurship, making connections is the lifeline of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then again, when you start reaching out to people who are on the same level, and from here I have a particular person, Joseph Faruja, who would like to mention, when you meet people who are like-minded and you like working with, then you realize that it's okay. I mean, you
Mhm.
don't have to be the biggest businessman in the world. If you just
Yeah.
start small, you bootstrap bit by bit, and it happens. And people tell you that in entrepreneurship is about resilience and not giving up.
Mm.
And that's exactly it. So I moved to this part of my career, not because it wasn't doing very well. Actually, it was doing quite well.
Okay.
It's because I'm currently in my final stages of my PhD, and I'm focusing more on my research subject rather than the entrepreneurship side.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what I did there was innovation workshops where you really see how different people learn. So some people are hands-on, others are
Yeah.
visual, so they want to read, others want to watch others do the things before they move on. So that's
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that
The
taught me a
late
lot.
adopters.
Yes, that taught me a lot. A lot. And even as I look around my classroom today, I I don't really like giving everyone reading and that's it. And to be honest, the university that I work for doesn't either. So, and
Hmm.
I think most universities are moving forward with that.
Yes, I think so
So it's
too.
about discussions, creating things.